1,000-Pound Sisters. Chris Combs brings men together for real talk about weight loss, pride and identity. On TLC's hit series 1,000-Pound Sisters, the focus has often been on the Slayton sisters, Tammy and Amy, and their weight loss journeys filled with tears, triumphs, and setbacks. But in the shadow of their struggles stands a man who has quietly become a pillar of strength for both his family and countless viewers, Chris Combs. This season, Chris has stepped forward in an unexpected way. He's not just focusing on his own health anymore, he's bringing men together to talk openly about weight loss, masculinity, and the complicated relationship between food, pride, and identity. In a world where men are often taught to man up, hide their feelings, and avoid vulnerability, Chris is tearing down walls. His new mission is resonating deeply with fans who see themselves in his story. What happens when a man raised in Kentucky culture, where food is love, pride is everything, and masculinity is rarely questioned, decides to challenge tradition and start real conversations? For Chris, it's not just about the scale anymore. It's about freedom, dignity, and redefining what it means to be a man. Chris's path on 1,000-Pound Sisters has been a rollercoaster. When fans first met him, he weighed over 400 pounds and struggled with mobility. He spoke candidly about his fears, dying young, leaving his wife Brittany a widow, and missing out on time with his grandchildren. Unlike his sisters, Chris wasn't always front and center on the show. But when he spoke, viewers listened. His down-to-earth honesty, his dry sense of humor, and his willingness to hold Tammy accountable made him a fan favorite. But underneath the jokes and country charm, Chris carried decades of hurt. He'd grown up in a family where food was both a comfort and a curse. Sunday dinners meant fried chicken, cornbread, gravy, and pies. Celebrations were centered around food. Bad days ended with food. When Chris joined the weight loss journey alongside his sisters, it wasn't just about slimming down. It was about breaking generational cycles. In Season 7, viewers noticed a shift in Chris. He wasn't only talking about his own goals anymore, he began reaching out to other men in his community. He confessed in one emotional confessional. "Men don't like talking about this stuff. We act tough. But the truth is, a lot of us are dying inside, literally and emotionally. I don't want to hide it anymore." Chris realized something powerful. While women often had support groups, therapy, and strong online communities for weight loss, men were silent. They carried the same pain but without the outlet. The turning point came during a filming break when Chris attended a local health seminar. He saw other men sitting in the back of the room, quiet, embarrassed, unwilling to admit their struggles. That was the moment he decided if nobody else was going to lead these conversations, he would. Chris began small. He invited a few local men, friends, cousins, neighbors, to his garage one evening. They sat in folding chairs surrounded by old tools, hunting gear, and the smell of motor oil. At first, it was awkward. Nobody wanted to be the first to talk. But Chris broke the ice by sharing something deeply personal. "You'll know me. I joke a lot. But truth is, I used to cry in the bathroom because I hated looking at myself in the mirror. I felt like I wasn't a real man, like I was letting my family down. And food was the only thing that made me feel better, till it didn't anymore." That confession cracked the silence wide open. One by one, the men began speaking. A truck driver admitted he ate fast food every day and feared he wouldn't see his daughter graduate. A young father confessed he hid candy in his work truck because he couldn't go a day without sugar. An older man admitted he didn't want to lose weight because he feared losing part of his identity. His size had always been a source of pride in his community. Chris realized these talks weren't just about diet or exercise. They were about identity, pride, and masculinity. For many of the men Chris gathered, weight wasn't only physical, it was cultural. In Kentucky, and across much of America, big men were often seen as strong, dependable, and proud. Losing weight could feel like betraying tradition. Chris spoke about this openly on camera. "Where I come from, being a big guy meant you could work hard, carry heavy stuff, eat like a king, and still show up the next day. But nobody tells you that being big can also mean not living past 50. Nobody tells you about the shame, the health problems, the nights you lay awake worried you won't wake up." By creating space for men to share, Chris was chipping away at toxic pride and replacing it with something healthier: community. Producers of 1,000 Pound Sisters were initially hesitant to focus too much on Chris's men's group, fearing fans tuned in mainly for the sisters' drama. But when they saw the raw emotion in the room, they knew they had something powerful. One unforgettable scene showed Chris and the men gathered around a fire pit, speaking openly as the Kentucky night sky stretched overhead. There were tears, laughter, and hard truths. A highlight moment: Chris telling the group, "It don't make you less of a man to ask for help. It makes you more of one." That single line became a viral quote on social media, shared by fans who saw Chris as a rare example of male vulnerability on reality TV. Behind Chris's transformation stands his wife, Brittany. Fans have long admired her no-nonsense attitude and steady support. But in this new chapter, she became even more vital. Brittany encouraged Chris to keep going when he doubted himself. She welcomed the men's group into their home, cooked healthier meals for gatherings, and even joined some of the discussions. At one point, Brittany admitted, "I used to worry Chris wouldn't be around long enough for us to grow old together. Seeing him open up like this, it gives me hope, not just for him, but for all these men who finally have a safe place to talk." Her presence reminded viewers that behind every strong man, there's often a stronger partner pushing quietly from the sidelines. Of course, Chris's sisters couldn't stay silent. Tammy, who has struggled with her own weight loss and health scares, expressed pride in her brother. "Chris has always been the one to look out for everybody. Now he's looking out for other people too, not just us. I think it's good he's talking about it, 'cause men don't usually do that." Amy, meanwhile, got emotional seeing her brother in this new role. "Chris was the rock when me and Tammy fell apart. Now I see him leading these talks, and I just think, wow, he's not just changing himself, he's changing lives." The Slayton siblings, often fractured by tension and drama, seemed united in admiration for Chris's efforts. When episodes featuring Chris's men's group aired, the internet lit up. Fans across forums, TikTok, and Reddit shared how meaningful it was to see a man like Chris, working class, relatable, and authentic, breaking stereotypes. Some fan reactions: "I cried watching Chris talk about being ashamed of his body. My husband struggles with the same thing but never talks about it. Thank you, Chris, for being that voice. This is the kind of content we need. Real men talking about real problems without shame." Chris Combs is the unsung hero of this show. TLC better give him more screen time. The response proved one thing: Chris had tapped into a conversation that millions were hungry for. What started in a garage and a fire pit may soon grow bigger. Chris has spoken about wanting to start an official support group, possibly even a non-profit dedicated to men's health and weight loss. He's been invited to local churches, schools, and community centers to speak. Fans online have even suggested TLC give him his own spin-off, Big Men, Real Talk. Chris remains humble about the attention. "I ain't no celebrity or expert. I'm just a man who got tired of suffering in silence. If me talking helps one other man, then it's worth it." Chris Combs's journey is no longer just his own. He has become a symbol of change, not only for overweight men but for anyone who has ever struggled with identity, pride, and vulnerability. By opening his heart and leading these real talks, Chris is proving that masculinity doesn't have to mean silence. Strength isn't in how much you can lift or how much you can eat, it's in the courage to be honest about your pain and the will to fight for a better life. The story of 1,000 Pound Sisters has always been about transformation, physical, emotional, and spiritual. While Tammy and Amy's journeys remain central, Chris Combs has carved out a legacy of his own. He has shown the world that men, too, deserve safe spaces to confront their struggles. That pride can be reshaped into something healthier. That identity isn't about size, but about heart. As Chris continues leading conversations around weight loss, pride, and masculinity, one thing is certain: his impact will reach far beyond reality TV. He has become not just a brother, a husband, and a fan favorite, but a leader of men.